All right, welcome to Witchpolice Radio. I'm on the internet, as always. I don't know why I keep explaining that I'm on the internet because everyone's on the internet doing these at this time. But I feel the need, I feel compelled to tell people I'm not doing this in person. And the guests on this show have been on an episode of the podcast in person, but it was many years ago in the before time. And it was a very different format and different style. And so I'm happy to have you on now because not only are you releasing new music, but there's been a few years in there since we last talked that I kind of hoping to get some background on what's gone on with the group since then. So I think maybe the best way to start this off is if the two of you want to introduce yourselves and identify, I guess, what you do in the group and maybe give a bit of background as to where the two of you are coming from musically.
All right. Sure. Thanks. Yeah, we're Ghost Twin. We're here in Winnipeg making synth pop, dark music, spooky music, dance music, however you want to describe that. Been doing that for a number of years now. My name's Karen, and I sing in the band. I play some guitar and contribute to the songwriting.
Cool.
And I'm James. I sing sometimes, and I do a lot of working on the computer, and I twiddle knobs and occasionally play keyboards and sing.
Cool.
And also kind of put together our like live visuals and stuff like that, which is kind of a funny thing to talk about right now. But if we were to play live, we would have live visuals. But
yeah. Well, and I guess maybe something to sort of frame everything is, like you said at the beginning, it's kind of hard to define what you do. It could be synth pop. It could be, there's all these sort of genres that fit it. How do you define it to someone who is, maybe you run into someone you haven't seen in a few years? Oh, you're playing music. What's sort of the Coles Notes quick way to identify what it is you do? Because I think it's maybe not as obvious as a lot of styles of music where you can just say, oh yeah, I'm a country singer, or I'm a hip hop artist, but you have something a bit more nebulous, right?
Explaining it to someone who really wouldn't have an idea, I'd probably say it's dance music, but more maybe influenced by Halloween.
Okay, yeah. That seems accurate for sure. Yeah. So, like I said, it's been years since I had you on the show before, and I know you have our new record that is in the works and is coming out very soon, and I definitely want to talk about that. But I think that I'm just trying to think back to the last time I talked to you, and I don't even think you had the previous album. The previous album that came out, I don't think that was even in the works at that point. So, what has sort of been the trajectory of the band over the past few years? Because it seems like you're getting more. I'm noticing your name more. I'm noticing, I'm hearing you more. Part of it's because I have the record that helps, but but just in general, like you seem to be growing in profile, which is very cool over that time. So, what's sort of been the path that you've taken sort of over the past 4 or 5 years?
Whew. You want to start with that?
Yeah, well, I can't remember when we came on.
I can't either. It's probably 2014, 2015. It's been quite a while. Yeah.
So we might have just put out our EP.
That sounds right. Yeah.
It's called Here We Are in the Night, and I don't know. When Karen and I started this project, it was just kind of like for us to something to do together and to have fun together. So
yeah,
it's kind of just kind of gone wherever it's taken us. And I think maybe we talked about last time probably we're just kind of, oh yeah, we started this project. Maybe we should record some songs. Maybe
yeah.
What do we do with them now? Do we try to get it on a label? Like, do we try to play at music festivals or something? So it's like, it's been kind of, I don't know, just
it's been exploratory.
Yeah.
Like, well, what do we feel like doing with this next? And we just kind of come up with some kind of wild scheme, and it seems to be more or less working out.
Yeah. Well, am I right in assuming that your profile has risen a bit? I mean, it definitely seems like you are.
Oh yeah.
More noticeable, locally, and I'm sure beyond as well, in terms of just your presence in the music scene.
Mm-hmm. I'd say so.
Yeah, I don't know.
Whatever that means.
Whatever that. Exactly. Take it as you will, right? But yeah. So okay, well maybe let's focus on what you have coming up, because I mean, you have singles that have come out for this new record that's dropping in June, right? And so before we even talk about the music, I was looking at the images online of the artwork, and for such a visually oriented band, that seems like it's a fairly key part of what it is that you do, is the visual aspect of the stage show, and it seems to have been translated to the album art as well. So what can you tell me about sort of the design of the package for this LP?
Well, it was kind of Karen's
Actually,
idea.
I guess it was.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out what we wanted.
I was inspired by you.
Yeah. You can't really see if you're listening, I guess. But like on either side of us, we have four big giant shelves of covered in VHS tapes.
Okay.
Like, what is this?
Is that Ernest on that?
It's Ernest. Like,
It's,
why does he have this?
It's you can watch this tape, and if you correctly count the number of times he says "Vern" or know what I mean.
Know what I mean? Yeah, yeah.
And you write into a PO box, and you tell them how many times, and you win $10,000. So.
In what year, though?
It's
got to be a few decades ago.
1987. So
Yeah.
Right,
I'm a bit late.
Yeah, yeah.
But the tape still exists.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, I guess we were trying to figure out what to do, and Karen had this idea, like, well, what if the back of the cover was a bunch of VHS tapes, and we photoshopped like so the VHS tapes had the names of the songs,
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Like it's someone's basement movie collection, but
Yeah.
there are song titles.
Yeah. So I went through all of them. I think I have about like 1,500 or so
Okay.
at the moment. I sell them off a lot, but I'm in the middle of purging, but it's around there. And I just I was like, okay, I was listening to the album. I was like, okay, what does this song sound like? I was like, this song sounds like Strobe. Like this song sounds like Cyber Bandits. I like the font. Like,
Okay.
feels like that song. So I picked out like maybe 5 tapes for each song, and then I had Karen come up, and we kind of decided in different stacks, like, okay, what looks good with what. And
Yeah,
stuff like that.
how can we integrate these aesthetics of
Yeah.
these different, like, lost to VHS movies into our album art?
But I guess it stems more from there's a bit of a purpose to this, a meaning to this madness. Like I'll go through these with Karen, and we'll kind of mine for little clips that like have a certain imagery or a feeling that we want to convey with a song. So when we're building like live visuals for our music, we're kind of like looking to create this like series of like this montage that's like representing the kind of feelings or like the aesthetics or like the archetypes that are in the song.
Okay.
So it kind of came from there, and now it's just a bit more literal, I guess, on the back with like, the VHS covers, and then we use like a lot of analog processing to do our visuals, and so for like the album cover, I ended up like feeding it through this box with a bunch of knobs to make it look all wacky, and that's what we did for all the interior artwork and stuff like that too.
Well, I guess the aesthetic of a VHS too, it has a very 80s kind of vibe to it, and that seems to definitely apply to what you're doing musically as well.
Yeah, it just kind of felt a bit more honest too. Like instead of, I love our last album artwork. Like that image that Karen Asher took, like just
Very cool cover. Yeah.
spoke volumes about like what we were feeling when we made that record. But this one is just this is just us and our like. I mean, what else are we gonna do right now? We can't really go anywhere to take photos. So it's just like we just did it all at home. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. That's cool. Well, how does the visual thing is obviously a very important part of what you do as a group. And like you were just saying, the visuals are connected to the individual songs. How difficult is it for you to put out music that just has the audio element? Is it hard to sort of make that feel complete without having the visuals that accompany it? I mean, when you're listening back to something you've recorded, does it feel empty at all to you, or are you happy with sort of presenting it as just an audio only piece?
I'm happy presenting it as audio only. I mean, it's we've done different things in the past. It is fun to incorporate the visuals as possible, like with the live show. With James made a lyric video recently that uses a lot of the visual elements from the live show integrated. And we're hashing around the idea of making a VHS release of our album, which will kind of compound all of that.
That's I guess your audience too is going to be people who probably have VCRs still, right? I mean,
Yeah. That was what we did with the first EP. We made a VHS release, and it was just our live visuals. But yeah, I mean, like with our first. When we first started, the visuals were a really important component of the music, because when we were sampling the visual, we were also sampling the audio of the visual. Like, so we're sampling movie clips that have like some kind of percussive element, making beats out of those.
Okay.
And we don't really do that so much anymore.
Yeah, we might take that up again
yeah.
down the road, but
Yeah, but like before, it used to be like very integral. So like hearing those sounds without the visuals, still made sense, but it made more sense if you saw the live show or the VHS release or something.
Sure.
But now it's not quite as important, I guess.
How do you construct your songs? Is it completely collaborative, or is one person sort of bringing something to? Because it strikes me, I may be wrong, that it seems almost like a split when you're listening to it in terms of vocals here, and then bleeps and bloops with electronics and computers over here. Is that accurate? And how do those two come together?
it really varies. Yeah, we'd have to like take apart each song and say we'd probably have a pretty good idea of how it came together. And yeah, I'd say it's probably split three ways. Like a third of the time I'm bringing an idea to James and saying, here, make sense of this.
Right.
And then another third of the time James comes up with something and also presents me with the same kind of thing to dissect and produce like that. And then sometimes we'll just jam and come up with something together, and probably happens about equally each of those three ways.
Yeah, but I think like depending on who's doing the vocals, you might assume that
that's
like,
kind of
that
what I was
person
thinking,
wrote that song, and like that's totally misleading, because that's not usually the case, actually.
We definitely write songs for each other to sing.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that difficult at all, or do you feel? I mean, I'm assuming you're comfortable enough with each other at this point that you can just fairly simply sort of create something for each other to do, or is it weird? Like, does it feel awkward at all?
Well, I mean, if I make something for James and he's like, there's this part of it that I'm just not into, then I'm like, okay, well, what should we do instead? Like, we're pretty we're pretty flexible with our ideas, and we trust each other's aesthetic.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. You want to be able to do that, right? For sure. That's good. That's good. So I know you said earlier that you did the artwork in-house because pandemic's happening. You can't really go out and do anything else, and that's sort of an issue that's come up obviously for the past year and a bit with everyone I've interviewed is how this situation the world is in right now has affected their creativity and their output and their ability to just go about their everyday lives as musicians. You're obviously able to be in the same room as each other, and so I'm sure that has helped in terms of just being able to create. But what kind of struggles have you faced during this weird time we're in, as far as actually being able to create and being able to make music?
Yeah, we have had a lot of lucky breaks, like the trajectory, I guess. Like we were putting everything together to start making this current album in like January, February of 2020.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a while back. Yeah.
It's a while back. So and that's when we got like approval from the funding bodies to like, yes, you have some money to make this album, great. And then March happened, and then it's like, oh, okay, well,
we were going to record in March, I think.
Yeah, we were actually going to record in March.
Or no, in April. Yeah.
Everything is completely locked down.
Yeah.
But then, I guess we were lucky that last summer things relaxed, for better or for worse, for a while. And
there's a brief window, right? Yeah.
There was a brief window where the studio opened that we were able to get it recorded. We worked with an out-of-town producer to mix it, Valentin Huchon from Montreal. And it didn't matter that we were not able to meet with him in person. We just were like using WeTransfer to get that done.
Yeah, but I guess otherwise we might have gone. We wouldn't have necessarily needed to go to Montreal to mix it with him, but that would have been fun,
Yeah,
sure.
We might have done that if we could.
Yeah.
But it was fine to not have to include that.
Yeah, I guess it just meant a bit more back and forth. But he got the sound, like he kind of nailed it, like, so it wasn't really that much back and forth at all. It was just like a little, nips and tucks and nitpicking on our part, but I don't think it would have gone any faster if we were there. Maybe it would have gone slower because we would have
We might have just annoyed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So this is coming out on Artifact Records, right?
Yeah.
Well, how did that connection happen? Because they put out the Tunic record recently, and I just had David from Tunic on my show too. And they're not a local label, so do they have some kind of Winnipeg connection, or how did you get involved with them?
They kind of do, hey?
Yeah, Jacek, who runs the label, or co-runs the label with another guy, Jeremy. He actually used to live in Winnipeg.
Okay.
Like a
long time
ago. And I think our friend Jeremy Pilipow, who had a project called Distorted Memory, now he does a YouTube show called Black Magic Craft. He was quite good friends with them, and they were giving him distribution for his music. I think we just became aware of them that way, and we knew like who else was on the label, and we're like, that's a label we'd like to be on. And we were playing a show in Toronto. I think when we just we had just got the money to record our last album, Plastic Heart, and we invited him to come, just check us out and meet with us, and so we ended up just hanging out with him and his wife the whole night, and that's kind of how that happened. Like, I guess he liked what he heard and wanted to work with us, and we realized we weren't insane people, and we were.
It seems like oh, sorry, go ahead.
They released our last album as well.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it seems like a very diverse label. Just looking at the lineup on there, and so I mean, even just with the Winnipeg acts, like you guys and Tunic, I don't think that anyone listening to either of those artists would think that there's any kind of similarity musically. But what do you think it is that kind of meshes all the bands together on that label? Is there some kind of aesthetic that connects everyone, or is it just sort of scattershot?
I think we can sum it up as something that we call the inner goth.
Okay.
It's music that just has some kind of element to it that would appeal to this person that either lives inside of you or who doesn't, but who's wearing a lot of eyeliner and sitting in a dark corner alone with a single candle.
And drinking red wine.
And drinking red wine.
Yeah.
Okay, I can see that.
Any of these bands will have something about them that would appeal to that person.
And I guess some of them are more obvious than others, right? I imagine your music is maybe more directly appealing to that inner goth than maybe some of the other artists, yeah.
Maybe. But yeah, listening to Tunic, I just like that kind of, there's like a darkness there that
sure, yeah.
Could totally appeal to people with like tastes like that.
Yeah, like I think it's like a bit more plainly, it's like everything that's kind of like grown out of like post-punk, all the kind of micro genres and subgenres that have grown out of there are very well represented on that label.
Yeah, well, and I guess they're all offshoots of a larger tree anyway, right? I mean, all of these things that came out around that time period are all interconnected in some way or another.
Yeah,
there you go.
Obviously, shows aren't happening now, and I assume that you would have liked to have a release show for your record when it comes out. Do you have any kind of ideas on how to get around that, assuming the pandemic is still on, which it probably will be?
Well, we were talking about at the very least having a listening party.
Like a virtual listening party.
Like a virtual listening party.
Maybe, otherwise, it'd just be us listening to our record alone.
Yeah, which we'll probably do as well. But...
Right, but you can do that every day if you want. Yeah. But no, that's a cool idea. I guess it's so hard, right? Because I mean, has it been weird releasing music? The idea of releasing music when people can't necessarily access it the typical way. Because I mean, obviously the way people consume music is so different now than it was even 5 years ago. But the fact that you're releasing this physically, you're putting out an LP, you clearly want people to get their hands on an actual copy and presumably sit down and listen to it side A to side B, start to finish, right? So does this whole situation we're in where, you can't necessarily release it with a show or get copies to people hand to hand like you would have been able to do even 2 years ago, does that make it weird, or are you okay with sort of the situation that we happen to be in?
You have to accept it, right? So we accept it, but it is it's a little depressing.
Yeah,
it's always nice to actually like meet the people who are interested, and it's like it's a highlight of doing what we do. So it's definitely a missed experience.
Yeah. I mean, like our last couple of release parties have been a bit wild, you know, like it's like that's like the moment when everybody comes out to the show and the energy is really just like vibrating and pulsating. And like I mean, I'm sure like you know what it's like to play music live for folks, like when you have that connection with them and they're in the song with you,
Yeah.
you know. And they get like some kind of like at some level they understand what you're doing. And that's exciting, and you everyone, like both sides, like the performer and the person watching, like get a rush from that
Yeah.
experience. And now it's just like even if we do a live stream, it's just like us in our living room. It's essentially like a practice, but there's people watching, apparently, and they're saying things.
Yeah, watching the chat on Twitch is kind of fun and an interesting like situation to be in, but it's not the same.
Yeah. Because there's very clearly a screen between you and the audience.
Yeah.
You can't get past that. Yeah. Well, what do you feel about the? I mean, just kind of back to the way of releasing music. I'm glad to hear you're releasing an LP. I have the other one on vinyl, the last one, and I'll probably pick up this one too. But a lot of people, the way that most people listen to music right now is streaming, or they listen to individual songs kind of picked out of an album, and there's no sort of guarantee that someone's gonna pick up your project and listen to it as a cohesive start to finish unit. Does that how do you feel about that? Do you make a piece of music, a record, as something you want people to listen to as an experience from the beginning to end, or are the songs standalone-ish enough that it's okay if someone pulls out track 5 and then track 1 and then maybe jumps onto another band?
This one's unique like that because it definitely started out as a collection of songs that were like kind of created as unique entities. Okay. But then we spent a whole lot of time and careful attention in the track listing, and I believe it kind of grew into something greater out of that, and it can be it would add more enjoyment to listening to it in that particular order. But at the same time, yeah, it's kind of a collection of unique songs.
Yeah, I mean, I would be great if everyone listens to start to finish.
Yeah, of course.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna expect that either. I'm sure there's gonna be some songs in there that some people love and some people have just never heard. Maybe they've listened to one of the other songs a bunch of times and never heard some other songs in there. But
yeah, and they're different enough that there's probably going to be some that certain people will either love them or hate them.
Yeah.
That's
it's
okay.
It's out of your hands anyway at that point, right?
Yeah.
Because once it's out in the world, people can enjoy it, I guess, however they choose to.
Or not enjoy it.
or not. Right?
Yeah.
What are the actual details around the release? I mean, again, obviously there's not a show happening because we're in this pandemic, but how can people get their hands on the record, whether it's digitally, whether it's physically, once it actually comes out?
You're the one who's really good at statistics and dates.
Statistics. I believe it's June 4th, when it's officially released. Currently, it is available for pre-order on Bandcamp. Our ghosttwin.bandcamp.com would be the place to go for that. It's on, and for people who want to stream music, it's available any place where that happens.
Every other place, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Your streaming service of choice, you will find it there.
And the good thing about this being a podcast is, it'll come out in a couple of weeks from when we're recording this, and probably the pandemic will still be on. I can't see it not happening, but someone could hear this a year from now. Someone could hear this, 6 months from now, and things may have changed by then. What's the best option to follow what you're up to as far as potentially playing shows once that happens again in the future?
I don't know. We post on Facebook and Instagram quite regularly. Well, at least when we have something going on, we don't just post pictures of our dog every day. But
dog pictures are cool too. Like that's also acceptable, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, if you go there, you can figure out what we're doing. And
cool.
Well, speaking of which, here she comes.
Oh, right on. Mine is hiding in the other side of the room. Yeah. Right on. And then the old records, are they still floating around out there, or can people still get their hands on the old stuff? Oh, obviously digitally it's available, but are there physical copies still available if someone?
Oh yes.
Yeah, we've
Come
got
to our basement.
yeah, we've got there's none of the first EP, but we have like a few of one color in the last one, and then quite a few of the other one.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I guess people should just contact you if they want to, or Bandcamp is the way to do that, right?
Yeah. They're both available on Bandcamp.
Oh, right on. It's so dark in the background there that I can see the dog, but
Yeah.
but barely.
Just
Right on.
barely. She's
Yeah.
too dark.
No, that's cool. Mine is the same, but like 5 times bigger. But
Yeah.
So, very cool. So yeah, I'm glad you're putting out this record. I'm always happy to hear people still releasing stuff during this awkward time, because a lot of people have just canceled it and decided to postpone things until whenever, right? So it's nice to see that you're among the artists that are still going to be putting out music, and I'm looking forward to hearing it. There's a few singles out now that people can hear, I guess, on Bandcamp and on all the other services. And yeah,
Sorry, Jackie's pulling off all my things.
there go the headphones. Right on.